Terrarian in the Dungeon, Chapter 25, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. I could all but feel Hestia and Bell's gaze on my back as me and Seshat led them through the ghetto side of Orario and more towards the business section of the labyrinth-like city of Orario. That wasn't an exaggeration at all either. Literally, if you got lost in the Daedalus District without a guide who had lived there for years, you could literally die of the elements before you got free of the place if the criminals within the area didn't hunt you down and kill you for your shoes. So, Jake, is all this? Well, is all the nonsense Seshat saying true? I mean, we were there at the hostess when you were talking, but this is all so hard to believe, you know. Hestia said skeptically as the lesser familias got little to no say in how the Freya and Loki familia were going to open up a boss arena for the adventures of Orario to kill and grow at a better rate. Yes, Hestia. I can summon monster Rexes of various levels of danger, and the monsters I summon will leave materials that can be used to make more magical weapons or may just outright drop magical weapons and gear once defeated. I spoke concisely so there was no misunderstanding. And I thought my bell was broken. Well, at least she will be in good hands, right, Seshat? Hestia said weirdly, and my goddess only weakly chuckled as she shrugged. Well, perhaps. My Jake isn't much of a melee fighter, so maybe your bell can teach him to be braver in the dungeon. Seshat said, trying to push the attention on me, and I only raised an eyebrow at my goddess. I literally create killing fields and kill hundreds of monsters in less than as many minutes. If I was a blundering oaf who wanted to smash each monster with a hammer or valiantly cut the monster down with a gleaming sword, either I would die of exhaustion or I would die by being overwhelmed, Seshat. I said, raising matter-of-factly to Seshat as my deeds in the mass slaughter of monsters, even if it were done in a cheesy method, making my foulness soar with the numbers. Because in the end, the monsters themselves were around my danger level to begin with. But the way I exploited my magical gear and perfectly sealed myself away from danger basically tricked my fauna into thinking I was relying on my intelligence to make grand heroic plans to slaughter an army of monsters without even getting a scratch while relying on my own strength. Still the coward's way to do it. Seshat muttered, but as we were on an empty road, I took out a bag filled with valis that I got from my monster slaughter. This bag of 750,000 valis I made yesterday says otherwise. Hell, I didn't even turn in a matching number of monster stones I got today from farming, seeing as I saved Bell and never went to the guild today. I said to Seshat, pointing as I shook the big burlap sack of valis in front of her face. She rolled her eyes. Whoa. Will I be able to make as much as that if I party up with you, Jake? Bell asked excitedly, and my eyebrows twitched as she had run forward to me and grabbed my free arm that Seshat didn't have and had dragged against her chest. Even as Seshat's arms around mine tightened and I heard her actually hiss at Bell with her dark black hair spiking up as she got territorial, I decided to play ignorant after Seshat called my efficient farming of the murderous dungeon cowardly. Oh yeah. I mean, it can probably take a couple of days for you to get used to actually efficiently farming the dungeon of its resources, but it's safe, and your magic stat will shoot up into the sky. I said confidently, with Bell's red eyes shining with pure excitement at my words, especially when Hestia and Seshat couldn't call me a liar or anything. A couple minutes later we arrived back at our property, and both Hestia and Seshat took one look at my tower with lava pouring down its side, and the two goddesses spoke in unison. Men. I just chuckled and I opened up the lava waterfall. Bell, even having been turned into a voluptuous young woman, oohed and ahed at the sight of the lava waterfall parting to allow us to enter before the lava waterfall closed behind us, leaving the massive interior of the tower only lit up by the bright dungeon crystals that Seshat had embedded into the ceiling to look like stars. Well, today has certainly been a day. I am going to turn in early, I said, stretching before I looked to my goddess. You good to play host and get them settled? I am going to take a shower before you girls settle down and decide to hog it, I joked at the end, making Seshat roll her eyes before she paused and nodded. Yeah, teaching Bell how to properly wash and take care of her white long hair is going to take a while, so it's best if you get your shower first and head to bed early, Seshat mused, with Hestia firmly nodding, and Bell cocked her head to the side in confusion. How hard can it be to keep my hair clean? I didn't have problems with my hair when it was like shoulder length, she continued, but the thing was, shoulder and butt length hair were two entirely different things. Oh, my dear Bell, I have to teach you the joys of wrapping your hair up in a towel for hours, so it actually properly dries without roughly drying it and tearing up your precious hair, Hestia said, like a mother about to teach her daughter the joys of puberty or something. Alright, I am out. Bell, I will get you fitted in some armor tomorrow so we can let whatever happened in the dungeon die down. I am going to get cleaned up and go to bed before I am dragged into getting my hair cut or something. I said jokingly as I power walked away from the tittering goddesses who grabbed Belle, who may or may not have wanted to escape the grasp of the two goddesses once she realized such a discussion about feminine stuff was going to be embarrassing, to say the least. The next morning was. Yeah, honestly it fits with this being an anime world basically. I awoke to the wonderful feeling of a soft feminine form clad in a thin extra t-shirt of mine that went halfway down her thighs but clearly left her pale smooth legs visible in the room's softly lit morning light. For a moment I literally thought with the long white hair that was spread across the bed and the form of whoever was cuddled up on my arm that Freya somehow managed to get into my tower and sneak into my bed. But then I recalled that Freya had silver hair instead of white. Belle. Wake up please. I said with a twitching eyebrow as I had. Well, I was having some conflicting thoughts honestly. Because in the end, all my sleep-deprived mind was thinking was her hot girl in arms must go for boobies. Belle muttered, and I couldn't help but think that maybe Hestia could have picked up her aggressively affectionate sleeping habits from Belle to begin with, as she just fully rolled against me and threw one of her legs over mine, and I felt one of her t-shirt's covered breasts pushing against my chest as I was shirtless as per usual when I slept. This is the sign of a harem protagonist. Now do I falter, or do I strike while the iron is hot? I thought before I smacked the thought aside as I extracted myself from Belle's grasp, and good thing I did, as when I sat up and rubbed my eyes, I saw a form standing in the doorway of the room. Hestia. You need something? I yawned as I took in the already dressed Greek goddess, who nodded at my question. Yes, me and you need to talk alone for a minute, so please follow me, Hestia said, not really ordering me, but it was clear that she wasn't messing around, so I just grumbled as I took a pair of shoes out of my inventory to slip on as I followed Hestia through Seshat's shop and into the backyard. Seshat and I got drunk last night, so she won't be waking up anytime soon, Hestia said frankly, and I just shrugged. Well, I hope you had fun. I mean, was pushing Belle onto my bedspread a drunk Hestia plan, or did you have a reason for it at all? I asked bluntly as I took a bagel to begin munching on it to awaken my brain. Hestia sighed and brushed her hands over her face as she shook her head. Actually, I thought Belle would wake up first, see where she was, and try to get more comfortable with you. She was the one who sought out your protection after we kept her up all night teaching what she needed to know about being a woman, and frankly allowing Seshat to make her a bra for today so we could get her some clothes that actually fit her. Hestia almost ranted before she took a deep breath. Look, Jake. It's plain to everyone that you have a super special skill that is unique to you that allows you to make the nonsense that you do. I don't care if you are some kind of super Krotzo or whatever, but Belle is literally a skill now that allows her and you to grow faster the more she supports and cares for you. Hestia shook her head, and I saw her eyes flash pink with divine light as she stared me straight in the eye. I love Belle. From the bottom of my heart to the surface I love Belle Crannel, but it's plain that she loves or obsesses over you and another girl to the point that her soul shifts and contorts to make a skill that symbolizes that love and obsession. Hestia then leaned toward me with her arcanum barely held back on a leash as she continued softly. Break my Belle's heart and I will never forgive you, I will. I broke off her jealous tirade by head patting the goddess, making her raising twin tails collapse out of the air as I cut off all the steam she was building.